Hi, everyone, and welcome to Huddle and Blitz with the Nine-Sided Circle. I am one of your hosts, Noor Kyle, along with...
Your other one of your hosts, Mushtaq Ali.
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles and he's in LA, and
I'm not in.
Vice versa. What the hell?
You wish I
I'm
was
in
in
Los
LA.
Angeles. Yeah, I do. And Mushtaq is in the Bay Area of California.
Yes.
Yep. And today is April 10th, and we are on our 19th episode.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of our finishing up almost our fourth week of quarantine. Oh God, it's been a long time, you guys, and all the more reason we need to talk about keeping civilization alive. You know, civilization used in a broad way, meaning, how do we maintain a functional society while being physically separated from one another? How do we do that while being sequestered in our homes with the same people every day? These are the challenges we're faced with right now. What do you think, Mushtaq?
I think that this is incredibly important, and I think that it would be good to look to our past for some hints.
Tell us more about that.
So let's look back, jump in the Wayback Machine and go back to around 1940. So Hitler is rampaging all over Europe. He's just finished devastating Poland, and he's turned his attention to England. And he does this thing called the Blitz. Blitz means lightning, literally. And the whole concept of the Nazis was doing the lightning war, the Blitzkrieg. And that means throwing everything but the kitchen sink at the enemy in hopes that you totally overwhelm them.
Yeah, to devastate them both practically speaking and psychologically.
Yes. So here are all of these Brits, and they're being bombed all the time. London is getting tons and tons of explosives dropping on it. And it would be a time when people could completely fall apart. But did they do that? Yeah, occasionally, but mostly they did the old British stiff upper lip. So what that meant was that people would get up, they would get dressed, they would shave, they would wash, they would dress in real clothing, and they would either sit home or they would go out and do the work. There's a wonderful picture of a milkman with a little tie and everything, walking through the rubble of London, carrying his milk to deliver it to the people who were in the houses.
The creative milk bottles, yeah.
Yep. And there's another picture, a lovely picture of a woman sitting on a pile of rubble outside of what may have been her house, sipping a cup of tea.
She looks like she might be a nurse, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know, but...
Yeah, but that's kind of the idea. And what we're seeing now is that a lot of people seem to be going into what we call armchair depression. And this is hard on them. It's hard on society, and it's particularly hard on relationships. So how do you know if you're in armchair depression?
Well, I mean, I can speak about this from experience. I'm not experiencing this right now, but in the past, I've definitely been in situations where, if you have no obligations because you're laid off or you're between semesters and you're just down. So what do? You end up staying in your pajamas all day. You end up not showering for 5 days. You start retreating into yourself and you lose track of your self-care. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who deserves attending to.
Yeah, or you feel like it's just not worth the effort.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think in this case, when we talk about armchair depression, it can sneak up on you in very subtle ways. Like a lot of us, if maybe we're still working from home, maybe not, but we find, we're just sitting at home and watching Netflix for a week because we just don't know how else to fill the void. And what can happen is that you're not necessarily enjoying the experience, you're just waking up and going to sleep every day, and you're not really thinking about how to support your well-being. So we wanted to touch on how to break that patterning. And yeah, I know Mushtaq has some ideas about that as well.
Yep. And before we go further, I would like to point out that if you are alone in your house, this is really bad. If you have a significant other in your house with you, this is even worse.
Yeah.
We have been observing right now that the stress of the lockdown has put some serious pressure on relationships. Divorce proceedings have jumped like crazy.
Right. Yes. And we've heard about this in the wake of China's lockdown. A lot of people, as soon as they could, they were scrambling to get in touch with people who could help them file a divorce, because after all that time together, they couldn't stand it anymore.
Yep.
And you have all kinds of issues come up when you are stuck together with someone. And I think, as Trevor Noah put it in a recent segment of his, it's like, you love each other, but do you like each other? You discover those things. Yep. And so one thing we were thinking about was how it can add to the heaviness of this situation when one or both of you are not taking care of your most basic routines. And these are things like, as Mushtaq mentioned, taking a shower, making sure that you put on fresh clothes. And it's not about necessarily keeping up appearances in a superficial way, but it's about feeling grounded and feeling present in your day.
Yep. And it's about taking care of both yourself and your partner if you have one.
Yeah. Yep. Because in taking care of yourself, you're also taking care of your relationship. And it's hard to want to be close with someone when, I mean, just to be blunt, when they're not keeping up with their personal hygiene.
Yep. You know, if you haven't brushed your teeth in 3 days, you haven't taken a shower in 5, and you're wearing the same pajamas now that you started the week out with, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, that is going to take a toll on your relationship. And it's good to be understanding with one another and to be supportive. But it's also important that we challenge these patterns that we can fall into. So, yeah, I mean, one way to break that patterning is just to do little things that are going to turn it on its head. You know, if you wake up and normally you don't really think twice about brushing your teeth, that's one way to get started, is just to brush your teeth and wash your face. And even that alone is going to get you a little bit out of that headspace where you're just numb.
Yep. So first and foremost is self-care.
Yep.
And this is, do the rituals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be like the Brits. Do that stiff upper lip thing. I mean, you don't have to, you know, put on the 3-piece suit with the tie and, you know, the brightly polished shoes. You don't have to be formal, but do not let yourself go to seed.
Mm-hmm.
Shave.
I think rituals is such a good word, because these are the rituals that help shape our day and help give substance to our, you know, our waking time.
So do the self-care, and that includes a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to feel your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a partner, make time to talk with them about how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And make time to listen to them as they feel things.
Right. Yes, definitely.
It goes both ways. Don't be a selfish ass.
Yep.
And, you know, practice your meditation. This is a great time to learn meditation if you don't meditate. There's
Right.
plenty of different kinds of meditation that you can do. There's a meditation for everybody.
And it can be as simple as breath practice or get
Yep.
complicated with a mantra. I mean, whatever helps you stay grounded.
Yep. And move your body.
Yeah. Yes.
Even, I mean, I live in a very, very small house. It's tiny. It's, as a matter of fact, it's an official tiny house. And I still have room to move and, you know, work resistance. I've got, you know, weights and giant rubber tubes and all sorts of stuff that I can do exercises with.
Yep.
And I have a little bit outside too.
Yeah, and for me, we are not so much doing exercise in the house, but we do have the ability to walk around the neighborhood and just getting the blood flow going, getting some oxygen flowing through your body, all that stuff. I mean, that can make a difference both for your relationship with yourself and your relationship with a partner that you might be residing with.
Yes, and you can invite your partner to move with you.
Yeah.
Moving doesn't have to be calisthenics. You can put on some music and dance.
Right.
And that might be fun.
Yeah.
So another thing that you need to do, especially if you are in relationship and both of you are stuck in the same place, is reach out to other people.
Yeah.
This is important. Make sure that you have contact with other friends and that your partner is not necessarily part of that contact.
Yep.
Just
Interdependence is a thing.
Yeah, just as it's nice to do things together, it's nice to do things not together.
Yes, and interdependence means both sharing, you know, relying on each other and also knowing how to do things separately. And that can help you keep from losing your temper with one another. You get an outlet outside of the relationship for your relational needs.
Yep. And to that end, we recommend sitting down with your partner as soon as possible and making some plans, planning out how you're going to do the things you need to do. What's on your plate? What's on their plate? What do you need to think about daily? When do you need space? Is an important one because you might be working from home. Noor and I both work from home, so she has to negotiate with her roommates.
Yep.
And I have to negotiate with the spider that's living up there. I haven't thrown him out because he's kind of cute.
Aw, spiders.
Spiders. Yeah, so make a plan. And when you have your plan done, do a daily check-in.
Yeah.
Just as if you were in business together. And you're in the business of surviving the shelter in place, surviving the plague.
Yes.
So daily check-ins. That's very, very important. And when you are spending time together, and this is also very important, make sure that that time is intentional. Don't just sit around eating Cheetos and watching Netflix.
No Netflix and chill then?
No, you can do Netflix and chill, but you need some intentional time together. You don't want to start creating barriers between you.
Yeah. And I think that's so easy once the ball gets rolling and you end up in that inertia state where you're frustrated, but you've decided to stuff it down and it just builds and builds, but it feels like it's too late to say anything. It's good to open those doors to conversations where people can unpack those things and disassemble them so that you can work through them and if not get over them per se, understand how to support each other and accommodate each other.
Yep. And also you use that intentional being together to make things fun. For example, our friend Ahmed, you know, yeah, Ahmed. So it was Ahmed's birthday a couple of weeks ago. And of course, everybody's on lockdown. And he posted the video of this. He gets out and he gets in his car with his wife, and they said, "We're going out to dinner." They back the car out, and they're like, "Screw this huddling in place thing," and they drive around the driveway and they pull right back up. And the house has been made up as a fine restaurant. Their kids are involved in being the waiter and everything. And it was lovely. It was such a wonderful thing. And you could tell they were having such a good time.
That's awesome. I haven't seen this, so that sounds lovely. Yeah.
You missed that one.
I did.
It's probably still up on his Facebook page.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it was well worth the watch, because it was a really smart thing to do. Yeah. And we can all do things like that.
Right. I saw this this video of a couple I don't know. It was just like a news thing, and they were recreating their first date. And so they had different rooms in the house that they dressed up like different parts of their first date. So they had the club, and they had like a cafe and all that stuff. So they got to go from one room to the next and have a different experience in each that they were sharing together. And I thought that sounded really cool and creative. Yeah.
And doing stuff like that with your partner might not be a bad idea.
Yeah. Date night. Yep.
Date night. Yes. Date nights are good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that gets us to my last suggestion for this, which goes around to the first thing that we ever talked about in these, which is appreciation and gratitude. If you're living with somebody and you haven't told them on a regular basis, like every day, how much you appreciate them and how grateful you are for them being in your life, you're doing both of you a disservice.
Yeah.
And that is lubricant for your relationship.
All important right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I got for this.
Yeah. I mean, intimacy is important, and these are ways to help allow that to be a positive experience for both of you when you have the other relationship stuff in order. And at a time like this, you can find comfort in intimacy, but obviously it has to be under circumstances where you both feel safe with one another. You feel supported by one another. And everything we've talked about, these are ways in which you can allow that to be a thing for you guys.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, yeah, that's what we have for this evening, and we will be back tomorrow on Saturday with more. And that will be our 20th episode, which is really cool. So,
yes.
Yep. Take care, everyone, and stay well, and take care of each other. Talk to you soon.